I'm Matt Goolsby, and we're back here. You know, we've got Trey Basa with Market Medicare Advisors, and you guys had just wrapped up a very busy open enrollment season. But you heard earlier that I was talking about last Thursday when you guys were taking some time off. Last Thursday at my Social Security class that you're normally at for people that have Medicare questions, the guy at the back of the room, when it comes time for me talking about IRMAA, which stands for Income Related Monthly Adjustment Amount, he raises his hand and he says, well, I'm a Medicare broker and I've never heard about this. What is this? Tell us what IRMAA is and how often does it come up in your guys' conversations?
IRMAA, like you said, it is it's a limit that people have to be wary of whenever they're looking at retiring. The income related monthly adjustment amount is changing every year, and if you exceed that limit, you're going to pay more in your Part B and your Part D premiums. So that is locked in for 12 months, and then if you do want to contest that, you get rated down. It's not going to be automatic. We have to talk about this through and through every day that we are meeting with clients, every day that we are enrolling people into additional coverage. It is something that they have to be aware of whenever they enroll, because like that gentleman in that workshop, shell-shocked that it could cost more, that the $174.70 this year is not the base amount. It actually goes up from there.
And that's not something they're going to have to pay extra. Well, if they're not collecting their Social Security, I guess they'd have to pay extra on there. But they just short them out of their Social Security check. It just comes out of there and they get less a month.
It's automatic.
And so I don't know if this guy that didn't know about IRMAA, that helps people with supposedly their Medicare, I don't know if he was new. I don't know if he just doesn't really mess with that. But I was mentioning to Jonathan McCoy earlier, you got to think, whose real responsibility is this? So is it the Medicare person's? Well, yes and no, because it has to do with your income, right? So if it has to do with your income, well, then maybe IRMAA is your tax preparer's responsibility to tell you about. Or maybe since, it has to do with your income, maybe your financial advisor sent you too much money and maybe they should be watching it. Or maybe they should be all talking together and working together so stuff like this doesn't happen.
That communication is vital, because if one person oversteps that limitation, they're paying for it for the whole year. That is hundreds and sometimes even thousands of dollars out of their pocket, out of their Social Security, that they're paying extra for Part B and Part D. So one of the benefits that I love about this job is that I got you just down the hallway. I can Teams you and say, hey, what if we take out so much money, what is their income going to be for this year?
And then I'm like, well, Trey, that's a question for the CPA, not the financial advisor. I'm going to tell you how much they're taking out. But we have to look forward, and with the help of our CPAs, we do some forecasting and say, well, hey, if you have $1 million in your IRA today and it doubles to $2 million by the time you turn 73, that's more than $70,000 the government says you have to take out and pay taxes on. But that's going to cause more of your Social Security to become taxable. That's going to cost maybe more for your Medicare premiums. And people don't understand this stuff's all connected. So they have these 4 advisors, or maybe they only have 3 or 4 of them. But maybe it's the financial advisor, the tax preparer, the Medicare person, and the estate planning attorney. But they're not talking. And if they're not talking, this is a classic example where someone will do something and they'll figure out when they go file their taxes, or they start their Social Security, or they get a letter from Social Security saying they're going to pay more. They don't, and then it's too late, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're always watching that number, because that annual notice of change, that letter, is already letting you know it's too late. We should have been looking at 2 years ago. And that's what IRMAA is going to do. It's always going to be a 2-year look back period. So not only do you have to watch that number as you're approaching retirement, not only do you have to watch it as you're retiring, but you have to be aware of IRMAA limit changes in your retirement, because 2 years from today is going to affect how much you're going to pay for your Part B and Part D premiums.
And I think that's probably something that maybe puzzles people further. They're like, why 2 years? Well, because it takes time for your data that happens with your tax return to get filed. And it takes time for the IRS to send that data to Social Security and say, here's their income. And they're like, oh, well, that took us a while to get there. Well, now that's why they're using the 2-year look back period, because sometimes people file an extension, they don't get their taxes in April 15th, maybe they get them in October 15th, and there's not enough time for that information to get over to Social Security and have that. And so this SSA-44 is the form that you guys have used to, first of all, it has the table there of the different tiers. Because if you trigger it by 1 penny, it's around $75 extra a month for your Medicare, right?
Yeah. And the SSA-44 is for life-changing events, and one of those events is just a change in income, a change in circumstance. There's a bunch of other ones like divorce or perhaps you become a widow. But those circumstances, all of a sudden, if you lose somebody's Social Security, your monthly income is halved.
Or even less. Sometimes depends on, because that with Social Security, the higher of the two benefits essentially survives with the surviving spouse. But yeah, I mean, you're down one Social Security check, and depending on what that amount is, that can really have an impact on your income. But then now you're single, and those IRMAA limits just came down, just like tax brackets, they get cut in half. And guys, if you're not working with a complete team out there, how do you know you're not missing something? Jonathan said it earlier. It's like, how do you know what you don't know? Oftentimes people figure out what they don't know when it's been a costly mistake. And that's what we want to help you avoid, is those costly mistakes in retirement. So if you don't have a complete team that you can turn to, reach out right now, 833-888-HOUR, or that's 833-888-4687, or you can pop right over to the website, retirehour.com, and book that complimentary visit with in any of our offices across Kansas and Missouri. I'm never taking 3 weeks off again. We'll be right back with lead estate planning attorney Gerald Eidelman right after this.